Meanwhile, the South African Human Rights Commission will convene the third and final session of its inquiry into the contamination of the Vaal River tomorrow. Joining us now is the SAHRC's Gauteng Provincial Manager, Buang Jones. A very good evening to you, and thank you so much for joining us to talk about it. So tomorrow is the third and final hearings. What would be the purpose of that, and how would it differ from the past two hearings you've already conducted?
Yeah, the first two sittings of the hearing focused on the role of the provincial, local and national government, and also the role of NGOs in the area and other interested parties. Tomorrow, the last sitting will be looking at the role of industry. We've summoned ArcelorMittal to appear before the inquiry. We'll also look at the intervention team or technical team that was sent by the National Treasury, which is led by the Department of Defense. Okay, so
we'll get to the intervention team, but ArcelorMittal, in what respect do you believe that they'll be able to help you with this regard?
Yes, from the information we were able to glean from our site inspections and from other sources, we established that there is a toxic effluent from industry in the Greater Vaal Triangle area. So we'll be looking at the role that they play and how and if they contribute to the contamination of the Vaal River. We've already had testimony from the SASOL leadership, and we'll be looking at the role played by ArcelorMittal. We've invited the Golden Triangle Chamber of Commerce, which also considered to the contributory role being played by industry in the contamination of the Vaal River.
And how did SASOL say that was in terms of the contribution?
Well, SASOL claims that it is a constructive corporate citizen. But tomorrow we'll hear testimony from a whistleblower who works at a SASOL plant, who would like to contradict the assertions that were made in the last sitting of the inquiry.
So is there dumping from the evidence that you've heard in the past?
There is dumping, and of course what concerns us is that the Vaal River system is so important to the economy of Gauteng and South Africa. The Vaal River system traverses across multiple provinces, and the rainwater, which is the largest water body in the country, extracts its raw water from the Vaal River system, and this water is supplied to 3 metros in Gauteng, 30 municipalities, mines, and 926 industry. Between 16 and 90 million people rely on the Vaal River system, and as the Commission, we couldn't sit idle by and not do anything, and that is why there is this intervention by the Commission. And of course, given the magnitude of this challenge, we noted after our intervention that the Minister of Finance then dispatched a team to look at all these issues. There is an intervention team that is looking at the remediation of the Vaal River system, and we welcome those interventions by government.
The Emfuleni pump stations, what was found to be the cause of that spillage, just according to the evidence from the residents?
The pump stations, some of them were not fully operational. The waste treatment works in the Emfuleni area, some of them had challenges which were attributable to lack of maintenance and lack of funding, because these challenges have been there for almost a decade now.
And the residents of Vereniging, Gauteng, and the likes, how's this affected them? You obviously would have had several whistleblowers who would have been able to set your site straight onto where the causal problem is.
Yes. For example, we received testimony from an NGO in the Vaal area which said that African people in the area cannot practice their religious beliefs because they use the Vaal River for traditional and spiritual reasons, and they can't because it is contaminated. And there are schools in the area due to pipes not being fully operational. There is raw sewage flowing in streets, which implicates a number of rights in the Bill of Rights.
So you mentioned the intervention by the Finance Minister, Tito Mboweni. He also included or mentioned the project in the midterm budget. Do you think that there'll be more contribution from the Finance Minister in helping to alleviate this problem?
Yes, we are hopeful that tomorrow, on the occasion of the budget speech, the Minister will make further announcements. We've received information from the National Treasury to confirm that this matter received attention during the preparatory period for the budget speech tomorrow. So we are hopeful that there will be more announcements tomorrow,
what kind of help
even before the Commission makes its own directives and recommendations to government.
So what kind of help would be effective?
Well, the Vaal River system challenges are not only a funding issue. The problem is also financial and infrastructure management.
Yes. So
there is a need for capacity building at a local level, but there is also a need to ensure that the municipality manages its funds, the Department of Water and Sanitation gets its house in order, so that we avert a similar occurrence in the future.
Would that include engineering capabilities? Because I know there were some of the complaints when the SANDF were in there.
Yes. And the NGOs in the area have said we would like to provide support, but obviously I can't preempt the outcomes of our inquiry, but we will be making directives, and of course we hope that these findings and directives will provide lasting solutions to
So take us through the process following the final hearings. So what happens then? I know you said you're going to make your recommendations, but how do you get to that point, and to whom are these given?
Yeah, we hope after we've received all written submissions, we'll commence with the process of drafting a provisional report. This provisional report will be circulated to all implicated parties. After we've received their comments, then the final report will be issued and will be made public.
So has there been any attempt by the residents of, as I said, etc., for compensation, or have they hinted that they would be seeking compensation for the impact on their quality of life?
Well, we are not aware of pending litigation against the Mfuleni municipality or government.
But have they expressed a desire?
As we speak, there are 8 court orders against the Mfuleni local municipality, and they have not complied with some of the orders. So they are in contempt of court. So members of the public are free to seek recourse where they feel their rights have been violated, but the Commission is there to act as an intermediary, because we are located between citizens and government, and we hope through this intervention that we'll never have this situation again.
Thank you so much for joining us and giving us an update on that. Buang Jones is the SAHRC's Gauteng Provincial Manager.